Hola muchachos, ¿qué tal? Buenos días, aquí tienen el horario para hoy, viernes el 7 de marzo. Your learning target for today is to describe parts of your daily routine. That's what you had as your homework for last class, the 6 sentences describing different parts to your daily routine. Your warm-up for today is to share out some oral responses to these 6 questions in Activity 5. You can watch the Daily Agenda video from last class for a recap on what those questions are asking, which expressions of tener are being used from page 131, or the verb venir, which means to come or to arrive over, come over someplace, using those two verbs venir and tener to indicate what you need to study, how old you are, when you arrive to school, when your friends typically come over, what you're afraid of, and what you are in the mood to do this Saturday. Watch the video from last class and you will see some example responses. We are going to check out of lesson 3, doing the recapitulación, and then you guys are going to have time in class to work on your family tree assignment, which I will explain again here in this video toward the very end. Let's go over the recapitulación together. You have certain adjectives here to utilize. Remember that adjectives, as it shows here on pages 118 and 119, need to agree in gender and in number, based upon whether that noun is masculine, feminine, singular, or plural. So pick the adjective that best fits according to the context, and then also modify that adjective so that it agrees in gender and number with the noun that it modifies. For example, mi tía es mexicana. Mi tía es mexicana. Ella vive en Guadalajara. Guadalajara is a region of Mexico. Mi primo no es rubio. Es moreno. My cousin isn't blonde. He is brunette or dark-haired. And no need to change moreno because primo is masculine singular. Mi amigo cree que la clase no es fácil. Es difícil. The opposite of fácil. Fácil and difícil are gender neutral, meaning they end in a consonant regardless of who we're talking about. Los libros son interesantes. The books are interesting. Me gusta mucho. I like them a lot. Mis hermanos son antipáticos. Antipáticos. No tienen muchos amigos. They don't have many friends. They are not kind. Las gemelas tienen 9 años. The twins are 9 years old. Son jóvenes. They are young. Part 2. For each sentence, provide the appropriate form of the verb tener and the possessive adjective that goes along with it. Here you have your possessive adjectives. And then just a few pages before, on page 130, you have your conjugations of tener. Esteban y Julio tienen una tía. Es su tía. It is their aunt. Yo tengo muchos amigos. Son mis amigos. Tú tienes 3 primas. Son tus primas. María y tú tienen un hermano. Es tu hermano. Nosotras tenemos unas mochilas. Son nuestras mochilas. And then finally, usted tiene 2 sobrinos. Son sus sobrinos. Part 3, arrange the words in the correct order to form complete logical sentences, and don't forget to conjugate your verbs. Always begin with your subject, followed by your verb, conjugated according to your subject. For number 1, tú tienes unos libros muy interesantes. Tú tienes unos libros muy interesantes. Remember, your adjective is actually going to go after your noun. And then muy means very before your adjective. Número 2. Now be careful. Tú here isn't a subject, but it is a possessive adjective that goes along with the noun here. Tu compañera lee 2 lecciones fáciles. Fácil being the adjective, yeah? You saw here in activity 1, fácil. Number 2, once again. Tu compañera, your mate or companion. Tu compañera lee, third person singular. She reads. Lee, ella, lee 2 lecciones fáciles. Mi buen amigo Hugo. Mi buen amigo Hugo es francés. These are really hard to do, so if you're struggling, for good reason. Nosotras somos 2 personas simpáticas. Nosotras somos 2 personas simpáticas. And then finally, number 5. A ver. Sus hermanos asisten. Excuse me. Sus hermanos menores. Sus hermanos menores asisten a las mismas clases. Sus hermanos menores asisten a las clases, or a las mismas clases, to the same classes. 5 is really tricky. Oof. If you know how to start off, though, what the subject is, and fundamentally you know how to conjugate the verb according to the subject, that's really the most important thing. Whether or not you're able to recognize the correct syntax, how all of these parts of speech match up and mesh together, that I can understand why you would be challenged by that, and just takes practice. You'll learn, I promise you. The more you practice, the better you'll get at recognizing it. So it's fun to try to figure out how to piece everything together, I think. Subject, verb, and then some sort of object would go thereafter. Okay, activity 4 here. We have verbs in the blue box. This is really Spanish 2 level, where you're taking different verbs. We have a mixture of ER and IR, some of them stem changing, like tener and venir, some of them not. I'm trying to figure out this sentence. This is very, very common Spanish 2 activity. So complete this letter with the appropriate forms of the verb in the word list. All of these will not be used. You can find these verbs on page 127, I believe, and also 130, the verbs tener and venir. All right. Hola, Ángel, ¿qué tal? Yo escribo esta carta en la biblioteca. Todos los días vengo aquí y leo un buen libro. For 2 and 3, they don't provide a subject. Todos los días means every day. It's an adverb. And if we're not provided with a new subject, we can just assume that it's the same subject as the one from the previous sentence. So that's how we know that 2 and 3 are also in the yo form. Número 4. creo que, I believe that, creo que es importante leer por diversión. De acuerdo. Mi amigo José Luis no, no comprende por qué me gusta leer. He doesn't understand why I like to read. Él solo lee los libros de texto. He only reads textbooks. A ver, pero nosotros nosotros compartimos unos intereses. We share a few interests. Por ejemplo, los dos somos atléticos. We're both athletic. Por las mañanas nosotros corremos. We run. A ver, también nos gustan las ciencias. We like science. Por las tardes asistimos a nuestra clase de biología. ¿Y tú? ¿Cómo estás? ¿Tú tienes mucho trabajo? Do you have a lot of work? ¿Tú tienes mucho trabajo? All right, skip 5 and then 6 is a proverb. Complete this proverb with the correct forms of the verbs in parentheses. Dos andares tienen el dinero, vienen despacio y se va ligero. Dos andares tienen el dinero, vienen despacio, viene el dinero, viene despacio y se va ligero. Así es. Comes slowly, yet leaves quickly. Money does. So true. All right, let's talk about your family tree activity here. Really straightforward. You're going to have 4 levels for this assignment. 4 tiers. One level, which is going to consist of you and your siblings. Another level, which is going to consist of your parents. And then you can choose, for example, the siblings of your mom or the siblings of your father. You do not need to do both. Just one or the other, mother or father. You and your siblings, level 1. Your parents is level 2, and then the siblings of your mom or the siblings of your dad. And those siblings would be your aunts and uncles. Yes, you do not need to include your cousins. If you'd like to, you're welcome to, as the example shows, but it's not necessary. After you have your parents and aunts and uncles included, then you're going to do your grandparents. And again, the grandparents from either your mother's side or the grandparents from your father's side. So for example, these would be your maternal grandparents, right? Adriana is the example mother here. So your mother or father's grandparents, and then finally their parents, which would be your great-grandparents, and probably want to do both sides, right? The parents of your grandfather and the parents of your grandmother. Taking it back one more time. Again, you, your parents, you and your siblings, your parents and their siblings, and your grandparents, either on your mother's side or father's side, and then your grandparents' parents, which would be your great-grandparents on both sides. Now, you can do this as a video, you can do this as a PowerPoint, you can do this as a poster, as the objective share. And then the only information you need to include for each person is their name, family relationship, origin, and 2 adjectives to describe them. Name, for example, Adriana. Relationship, madre. Origin, San Francisco. 2 adjectives to describe them. Inteligente y simpática. Bullet point format is totally fine. You can add that within the family tree, or if you want to put it separate somewhere, that's totally fine. However you prefer. This assignment is out of 30 points. Do you have all 4 levels present? Do you have the written descriptions? Again, name, origin, family relation, and then 2 descriptive adjectives. Do those descriptive adjectives agree in gender and number? And then to the extent that it's done in presentational format, whether that's a poster or PowerPoint or a Google slide, however you so choose.